Hey guys, it is Scott here from the Goal Group. How are you all? Today we're looking at all about Jayce. It's of course part of my series, and this is a special edition of the All About series because Jayce is my main, and I do play him a lot subby, looking at a variety of different characters. So first off with Jayce, we have his passive. His passive enables him to gain a movement speed buff for every time he changes between stances, and yeah. Uh, it's very useful for escaping. That's one of his main mechanics of movement speed, since his default movement speed isn't really that high. So that's a very good escape mechanic. And his Q in hammer stance, I believe you basically dunk on top of them. It does a slow, at least in hammer form. I'll be doing the hammer form first round with the abilities, by the way. You just dunk on them with a certain radius, it slows them. We want the gist of that. The W, it's an AoE radius of magic damage that can be used. It's not really that helpful, but sort of just there to help you sort of in short engages and in longer engages. Gives you a tiny bit more damage, but overall it's not that much big of a game changer. And we got the E here. Very good for disengaging. Very good for knocking other enemies into towers. It's always been a very good ability with his comboed Q. You can just QE or EQ, whatever you want to do with Jayce, and you can just immediately disengage after that, and it's just really helpful in terms of his combo, as it does percentage of maximum health, and it does do a lot of physical damage as well. And of course we have his ult, which switches into a range stats. So we're going to go over the abilities in ranged. So with the range stats, his Q fires a shock blast that deals physical damage. It's pretty much central to Jayce's gameplay and poke. His W, it gives bonus attack speed for 3 shots, and varying upon levels, it does more damage. And it's sort of useful later on in the game. Doesn't really help that much early, but it tends to hurt once you level it up more. And his E is the acceleration gate. It grants a movement speed buff and can also be used for his Q to go through. And it deals an extra 40% damage. I honestly forgot. It deals more damage. I think it's 40%. Yeah, it's 40%. It deals more damage, and it's really, really core to his poke. So let's look at how you would play him in lane. Honestly, Jayce isn't the best top laner. He's a safe pick. He doesn't really counter anyone. He just has a lot of poke and a solid engage. That's what I'd like to call him, a solid champion. He doesn't have the best things in the world, but he does do his job very well. He farms, and he has a lot of variety towards his gameplay. He has poke. He has a very good engage, and it's really hard to counterpick Jayce, and it's really hard for Jayce to counter someone. Uh, like really hard. I know he counters it like a lot of people, but like really hard. The only person he counters like uh, sort of hard is Darius, because he has a disengage and misses his Q and such. But with Jayce, you like to play very aggressive early on. You'd like to start getting some harass. It obviously helps a lot, especially when he has these cannon stats. He isn't the strongest level 1 engages. I don't recommend doing that. But I would recommend using your Q in range stats, maybe to poke your champion, the opposition champion, because it really helps early on, because it does do a lot of damage. But the key to the lane is short engages. You want to Q and E the opposition. A lot of the times, just keep on doing that combo, and eventually they will get low. And don't forget to use the EQ with the range stats. It does a lot of damage, especially through the acceleration gate, 40% more damage. It does so much, especially once you get the brutalizer. And that reminds me, we need to get into the build. So I'd like to get brutalizer first, honestly. Brutalizer is a really solid item on Jayce. Grabs armor pen, attack damage. That's a really good one. A lot of people like to get Tear of the Goddess. I don't mind, but I just go for the brutalizer straight away. Then I end up getting Tear of the Goddess. Well, you could swap them around, I guess. It doesn't really matter. You could also get 2 Dorans after your first B. 2 Doran's blades makes his poke a lot better and makes him more sustainable in lane. It's a very solid item sets, these 3 ones. Tear of the Goddess, Brutalizer, and 2 Doran's blades. Now, to start off, it really depends on who you're going against. I like to go with maybe some mana regen, like with a Fairy Charm or something. Or maybe Boots and Pots, Longsword and Pot. I guess it's really open to the opportunity. I don't really like to go Doran's Blade anymore. But you know, I don't really. Doesn't really matter what you get on Jayce because as long as you get some sort of sustain or maybe early damage output with the longsword, it doesn't really matter because he does have an escape in terms of his movement speed buffs. So let's look into his core build. He basically is a really good top laner with his build. I recommend building him not like flat damage, but sort of AD Bruiser, involving a Last Whisper, Black Cleaver, Frozen Mallet's still a very good item on Jayce, Mana Moon. Just those sort of items are, very solid on Jayce. And once the Mana Moon is upgraded, it does a lot of damage, especially with his EQ acceleration gate combo. It does so much. Adding on to the spells, it's just ridiculous. It's a really good solid item for Jayce, and he's a very respectable opponent when he has a full build. He starts nuking with his EQ combo, and he starts playing a huge role in team fights. Let's go down to team fights actually. In terms of team fights, your role is you're not like a normal sort of bruiser who goes in full throttle at the beginning. I reckon you should poke them from afar. You don't want your team to engage unless well, it really depends on your team comp, but recommend getting an early EQ combo with the acceleration gate first to sort of get a bit of AoE damage, sort of snoop them out a little bit, make them a bit more vulnerable, and try to sneak in as many shots as you can with your ranged form to make it much easier for team fights. That's the advantage with Jayce. You have so many advantages and chances to poke them down. It's sort of like an Italy spear, but Jayce's damage with his poke is AoE, so uh, it really helps in terms of leveling it out, or not leveling it out. What's the word? Being more lopsided and taking the advantage in terms of the team that you're in, because poking him down will really help you in the long run once you get into the team fight. And when you get into the team fight, just focus the ADC or whoever's fed. Not don't focus the Nasus that has 8,000 health. Please don't. But we just want you, we just do your role as an AD bruiser top. I'm sure if you guys play any other AD bruiser tops, you do pretty much the same thing. It's just with Jayce, you sort of have to poke him down at the beginning. He's not really all-out engaged champion. He just sort of pokes them down, then gets in. That's how he is played. So basically, I like to max out Q on Jayce, just because it does so much damage, especially with his ranged stance. Then I like to go with E, purely because of the hammer percentage damage and the physical damage that it deals. It's really good in conjunction with your Q. Then I like to max W for last. And no, guys, a lot of people tend to forget with Jayce, you don't really need to add any points to your ult. It doesn't really do that much, so you could just use some worthy points into your Q instead of using it on your ultimate, because realistically it doesn't really do that much. You could put it there if you want to, but I recommend doing it in spending the rest of your points on your Q or your E, depending on what you're maxing out, which you should be maxing out Q. But yeah, that's what you should be doing with Jayce. So thank you guys for watching this video all about Jayce. So thank you.